Hey there, it's Chris, and we are back with the next part of the Bang project. And remember last time we did a bunch of like kind of little things, just kind of clean stuff. We put in the collarbones. We started kind of widening out the calf and the leg just a little bit, and most importantly is get the wire out of the way. We are starting to finally detail out the feet. So today, the goal is going to be to try to get this boot as much done as we can possibly do. Now to do this, let's first put you back up on the screen. We're going to have pretty much going to be four distinct areas of the shoe, or of the boot. First we have kind of this cladding down the toes, and then comes a talon kind of point at the end, which looking at it, I kind of have mine kind of rolling kind of over the edge, so we still have to touch that up. Probably just come out a little more and then come back in. But we do have some little metal pieces in here to help keep it structural so that after this is hardened and whatnot, I'm not going to be breaking this every time I try to pick up or put down, which shouldn't be very often, but it shouldn't be breaking as we do stuff. Next on there, we have a heel piece, which is separate from the armor on top, and it's held in by a little cord. Third, we have the shin guard that comes up, the main body part of this, which is actually separate from these two. So you do see a little bit of the kind of the black sock or stocking, whatever it is, kind of underneath that. And then you have the big knee thing right there on top of all that. And thankfully, of all this, we have images of the front. You can see front and side from this view. And we also have one more image of him I found that can actually show the back of the shoe, or the back of the boot area. And it's a real kind of simple, kind of small detail in the back, and otherwise it's generally a kind of a plain look back there. So coming back here, so the first step we're going to try to do is we're going to get the heel. I'm going to come back and probably touch this up at the end, because that's going to be really delicate anyway. So I'll probably finish off this, I'll do the other leg, and then I'll come back and touch up the front of these to make them right, because that will get messed up in the end. So I'm not going to put too much time and effort into that right now, just because life is going to happen. I'm going to pick this up, put it down, it's going to smush itself anyway. So now that all the back of the house stuff is done, we can finally actually just probably start working. Thank goodness. And let's see, we're going to want, I think, a couple layers of this thick for the heel, because that heel is actually pretty beefy in size. So it would be nice to have something that's a little beefy in size. So I'm just going to fold this over a couple times, because that's as thick as my roller will get me. And we can just cut ourselves out a piece, and that's all we're going to need. So let's just get a nice little blank kind of to work with here, and then we'll figure out a size from there. But at least we now have a chunk of something I can stick under his heel. Oh, he's still harder to get out of here than every time I think he's going to be. Okay, so how... Let's see so you can actually see stuff. How big do we need to be? Because really, you're not huge. If I stick you as something a little farther back, ought to be fine. There's going to be so little of this thing sticking down at the end, and that's okay. Again, this one is just a lateral support and nothing more. So, but and really the whole feet, this part may actually come back off, and I just may need to redo that. Okay, I think we're just a hair wide. So let's go and bring you in just a little bit. Oh, that probably wasn't right. these feel a little more correct. It doesn't quite feel more correct. I can do that. That brings us in. I think depth-wise, we're probably okay. Size-wise, we are not there at all. So, size-wise, we want to probably chop off around here-ish. Bring that in. Yes, there's a little hole in there now from what I did, and that's fine. Just take you off and just kind of see if we can round off this edge a little bit. Yeah, I don't have many additional topics to go off of. I basically did the previous session, had lunch, ran a couple errands, and now I'm right back at it again. So I haven't really thought about more stuff other than that, other than the computer issue from last night, which falls under the dumb stuff to have happen, but sometimes it's just the way things work. Dumb stuff happens. But I figure at this point we're going to be talking more about what's going on with this anyway, so not super concerned. Okay. We don't need stuff to stick to him while we're doing this. Okay, so I have that goes in. It looks like it wants to be, back end's not terrible. Front end apparently is still coming forward a little bit because it's really not a big piece that he's standing on. So let's cut you off just a little bit more. Stick that back in, and I think I can work with that. So let's see if we can kind of center stuff up a little bit, make it look good. Looks like I'm a little thin actually on the one side because apparently I didn't cut things quite right. But that is fine because that's all we're going to be doing right now is just we are detailing, we are taking things, we're seeing what looks good, what doesn't look good, and we just do our little touch-ups. So if something needs a little more, something needs a little less, now is the time to do it. All right. Flatten it out just a little bit. That doesn't have to be so big. It does actually carve in a little bit as well. It kind of takes the heel, as the heel kind of comes around, it kind of comes in just a little bit with it. So let's carve that. Wow, I'm looking at the preview and I'm actually on the preview. I feel like I'm moving him around right now a lot and I can never be sure. So this is good. Yeah, I'll be honest, the blocking phase, getting this stuff all done, getting the legs and stuff the right size, the chest the right size, the arm, all of that, it's almost like a necessary evil part for me. It's not my strong suit. I enjoy kind of the more detailing areas than the getting him the right size stuff. So I'm glad that the necessary evil part is mostly in the books at this point. It feels a lot better to me that way. Let's see, I think we're still sticking out just a little bit far. So we're just going to cut a little bit more off. Make sure we don't mess up the foot in the process. That wouldn't be bad. And actually the foot has a little bit of an arch to it too, so you should be kind of coming up and in. because a foot isn't just flat. A foot does have more stuff going to it. We have kind of the arch on the side, arch on the bottom. There is stuff going on with that. Okay, the good thing is we are definitely clearly delineated from the actual foot, so it makes this part easier than usual. Just to kind of make sure the two read as two different areas. Super important. And then from here, now that he has that, he has a little rope piece that goes from here to it. So first thing I'm going to do with that is I want to make sure we're nice and smooth. Because once that rope goes in, it's going to be a little harder to smooth it out. Not impossible, but it's going to be a little bit harder. So might as well make life easier on myself at this point. And let's see, one more check. Where are we going? Again, what you are seeing, I'm using a slightly different version on here. But so at least, actually, I'm kind of using both. I'm using this as one view, and the one you're viewing on the side is another. So I'm using two different views to go off of right now, even if you're only seeing one of them. Which was kind of the bane for this area in the first place, because I was using multiple versions, and everyone was showing something different. And that's part of where my problems came from. But what I want to do here now is I take the point, and we're just going to make a little hole right there, a little hole on the other side. And that's where the little rope is going to go too. Where do we get it? Let me stick you down there right now. And now we just want to make... Oh, I feel like I'm back to 5 years old again. We're making a little snake. And this one's actually not super subtle. It does have a little bit of beef to it. Not super much, but it does have a little something. And thankfully we are big enough here that I can cut it in half and not have to roll a second one, because if you roll a second one, there's always a chance that it winds up being a slightly different size in the end. And what I didn't do was I didn't give the equivalent on this piece. But we need a hole right there as well. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind up attaching that in the end. Let's see. Can I do this nicely? Can you see what I'm doing? All I'm doing right now is I'm adding slight texture to this. Not very well, but I'm kind of doing the lazy man's approach to adding a little bit of texture to this. But it gives a little bit of something to it. So then let's go and tweak that side a little bit. So I can put you right there. You go, whoop, nope, stay in there. We're going to want you to stay right in there. Don't go anywhere. You might be a little piece, but you're kind of an important little piece. Alright, we're just doing this because it's kind of important to see the hole in the end as it comes in. And now, let's slice you a little bit. Let's realize that I almost lost that. I'm going to want that in the not too distant future. And we're going to attach this down on the bottom. And once again, we're just going to emphasize, make just a little bit of space around the perimeter of it, just to emphasize that it's going into a hole. And so there we have it. Now we have Bang's armor is now attached to on that side. Trick is we got to do the same on the other side. So one more time. Let's once again put that in there. I have this guy. I'm actually just gonna go just a little bit more, and we're gonna do once again our kind of lazy way of applying texture. Is I'm applying just light pressure as I roll this. I am not doing any kind of hard pressure at all. It is just really, really light, because I don't want to cut through this. Now, as with most little kind of subtle detail things like this, as soon as we start adding, well, it's blurry for you, I can assure you it's there. But as soon as we start actually adding paint and colors to this, all of these details are probably going to 100% disappear. So that just is what it is. But in any event, I now have this. Just need to attach it in. Bring it on down the line. Chop what we need. Pick up some of these parts, and once this is attached, we're going to clean up our workspace a little bit, because I'm going to get stuff stuck to everything everywhere, and it won't be good. Okay, so that is now attached. So that's getting somewhere, so that's good. Let's see, I want to keep those. Those are going to be useful for the other foot, maybe, depending how much I change this one. If I change that one a lot, then maybe not. But let's go and clean up this workspace just a little bit so that we can get on to the next step without having everything stick to everything. And okay, if I can put that down, I can actually put that in here. And our foot's getting somewhere, and now we gotta re-roll this thing again. Okay. Alright, so now we have this. So now, how do we make this into a boot effectively without too much issue? And that is, we don't really need to model a boot. All we really need to model is the gold portion that goes up and across the bottom. I put this gold portion in, it's going to read. Pretty much exactly how I want it to. Although, not true. Not true, not true, not true. We can do, I'm going to do a little piece around the, let's see, so I want, you're probably going to be zooming down just a little bit again. Okay, I was about to say, I cut off a piece, where'd it go? So that's going to come down there and up. That much seems fine. Actually, that's not too bad. And then it's going to come up and around. Something like that. Which means this side is also going to come down and do something like that. And we're not going to need any of this. We're not going to need any of that. His ankle is not that wide. So let's do that, cut it off. We actually need to cut this whole thing off, not just... We don't need to just score it, we can actually cut the thing off. That would be great. Oh, and it feels nice having a segment right now where I'm not just talking about me and my own experiences. It's nice to be at least pretending like I'm talking about I know what I'm doing over here. And I am fooling you in the process. Let's see, so on this, I'm going to take right at the back. Let's just get you up and in. Now we're going to want this to match up in the back. Okay. As we can see, this isn't going all the way up the calf, and don't really care about that part. Doesn't really need to. Actually, yeah, I'm just going to start with alright, so we come, you're going up, you're coming across, we're going to bring this down. At this point I can unwrap it because I know how thick it's going. I know how thick I'm going to be making all of these parts. So you come out, that comes up. I am on camera this time, so score. And lo and behold, that is pretty much our boot. That is more or less what we are going for. So all we need to do is place it. So we're kind of where we want to be. Coming around the back. Coming around the back as such. Except you actually go. Alright, we need to fix some things. Start there. I do want to come down a little more before coming up. Oh, I need to enunciate. Me kind of mumbling to myself doesn't help you guys. You're trying to listen to what I'm saying. Alright, so we pull that off. And there we go. So now where are... Once again, I have 3 tools. I can't be losing tools. I don't have enough here to lose. Okay, we're kind of reforming this point so it's a little more in the correct place. It's going to come down. Ugh. Alright, we did not meet up 100% correct. That's okay, because that is extremely easy to rectify and fix. Alright, just about there on this bottom part. So that's going to give us the bottom of this. Now what I could do is I could take what's left of you. I'm going to set this actually down to like, let's say 2. We're going to make this thing really, really thin. All I want is just something to kind of smooth out what we have going down here. And sometimes it's easier just to throw a piece on top, just to kind of iron things out a little. Now I can see exactly where, I can feel exactly actually where this thing ends. So we can just kind of follow it around and trace it and do a little chop chop. Except it didn't want to chop chop. It doesn't want to chop. Come on. All I want this for is just to kind of smooth things over. Nothing more. You certainly don't need to go that high. Plus, this will add just at least a little bit of thickness to this. So you have a little difference between what's up here and what's down below. But visually, once this thing is kind of made better, that shouldn't be an issue. Because yeah, if you have just kind of your calf, just your ankle, just your foot, whatever, you're going to have a lot of kind of little muscle details and stuff in there. Once you put a sock on, once you put a shoe on, once you put a boot on, once you put anything kind of on, it does smooth out some of those details. So I could either work at just smoothing it out as is, or I can take a piece like that, a little thin thing, and now it's just a lot smoother anyway, without doing all of the previous work of really trying to smooth all this stuff. Now, of course, this doesn't look like anything until I get the top of it on. Once the top of this goes on, then it's going to actually make the whole thing read a little better. So we're not there yet, but we are somewhere. Okay, we're only half hour through this, so we're not doing too bad right now. Assuming I remembered what time I actually started. Because I don't have a timer going for these things. I just go off the clock that's on the computer. So anytime I kind of look over, I'm just looking at the clock. And yeah, that's all I'm going off of. Which, actually, for some reason, the clock's not super... Oh, wait a minute. No, clock is super far off. It says it is 12:10 a.m. right now. I can guarantee you it is not midnight while I'm doing this. We are in the afternoon. I've already had lunch. So my computer is just... Maybe when I swapped the battery out before. Actually, it probably was when I swapped the battery out. It messed up the clock. So, yeah, I can assure you, whatever time it says is on there is not correct in the slightest. Yeah, we're gonna be fixing these little talon feet things. I've already hit it now a couple times, and yeah. Okay, so now we want to do the back end, which means I want to cut some more stuff. So I want to roll out some more stuff. We're going back to the same thickness. Back to my number 7. Let's go ahead and do that one more time. And just as we did the bottom piece on there, we're now going to do one for the top piece. And then I'll do the one in the middle and kind of smooth the whole thing out from there. Yeah, he looks really funky kind of standing there, but there we go. Okay, so this one, let's see, I'm just gonna swap some views real quick just to kind of double check how this works as it goes around. Okay, that's a plan view. That doesn't really help me much. That one, I can see on the left leg there, it looks like it goes all the way. So I'm just gonna assume that gold band on here, it goes at a steep angle, but I'm just gonna assume it does wrap all the way around, and then his baggy kind of parachute pants hides the top part of that. So that's what we're gonna be going with. So let's put, yeah, you can't see it in here, but that's because again those pants are something special, and I think they just cover what's going on. So let's pop you back in, and we're gonna make this piece go. Let's start by getting this fluffy stuff off. Don't need the fluffy stuff. And it's going to start, where are we going to start this? It actually starts fairly low. We're only looking at like something kind of in this-ish probably range. And then it comes up. And I guess the big knee things goes on top of that. Or maybe even slightly lower than that. So we're going to start down here and wrap. And maybe I'll score it with this. Actually, what I will do is I'm going to cut this to size kind of first. So I don't need to deal with too much extra stuff on here. We got a knee warmer now, so that's cool. Once again, I don't score with that one. I like scoring with this guy. I don't know if it makes any difference. I just like doing it that way better. And it goes up kind of dramatically and then comes across. Same thing here. We're going to come down kind of dramatic like. We can unwrap you. I can see what I did on this side, and I can then do the same on the other side. All right, now we cut that out. And it is approximately the same width on here as it was on the bottom. So we can make a nice little V-shape-ish piece going on a little more. And we have this really skinny kind of Wonder Woman looking insignia thing going on here. Which is going to go up and around. We're going to come up and around. And I'll be honest, I'm looking at you, and if I were to blow up that leg, his calf looks like it's still a little small. So I'm actually just going to add just a little bit more to this calf. Just to kind of beef it up a little bit. Again, the rest of the legs are all this kind of baggy stuff going on, but the calves are a little tighter, and we're gonna see if we can't make that a little more correct. It should have been done earlier because it gets, the more stuff I stick on here, the harder it is to smooth it effectively without hitting something I don't want to hit. But we're gonna make it work. Beginning to think I put too much on it. Too much, too much, too much, too much. Adding some clay is correct. Adding that much, not so correct. It could also be the calf was the right size, but his ankle was just a little fatter than it had to be, so it wasn't sticking out enough. But now his calf is bigger than his thigh. And again, that's going to, given how this is going to play itself out, that's not necessarily bad. You know what? I don't like what I just did. So yeah, I think the problem is his ankle was supposed to be a little skinnier. Yeah, I don't think the calf had to be any bigger. I think the ankle had to be skinnier. So we can fix that. That stuff is easy to deal with. Yeah, and I'm thinking about now that the channel is live, I do have a number of videos finally posted. Because again, I'm trying to stay about a week ahead. In case, like I said, I had the computer problem last night, that turned into an actual problem. It gives me the playroom in case I need to order parts or if something goes wrong or something happens somewhere along the line. I like having a little bit of buffer space. But dang it, I love it when I start talking, I forget what I was going to say off the top of my head. But in that time, if I get stuff that's wrong, it gives me time to also fix things. Like this, if I were kind of posting any of this live, I would be getting super frustrated on the screen because it's one of those, I'm looking at it, I know it's wrong, and I just want to kind of go ahead and I don't want to post something that isn't resolved. So I give myself time to resolve these types of things. And yeah, I do have that going for me. But at the same time, I'm now finally at a happier place doing this type of details. I don't have to worry about, generally speaking, kind of sizing everything super nice. Most of those decisions are done. I think he just needs slightly bigger thighs up here, and the leg comes into fruition. I still think we're a little more coming off. Yes, that extra little bit I added at the front when I kind of did it really kind of skinny, probably didn't need to do that. I think we were good as it was. But no, part of what I was going from with the now things are live. Any individual session may or may not be super exciting to watch. Again, I love just looking at the analytics on the videos. And yeah, I can see I have hour-long videos. The average view time for anything I've seen of anybody is maybe 20 minutes at the most. So again, when I'm kind of skimming through stuff, that's what I'm doing, because you're kind of looking for individual parts that are being done. Nobody's going to be hear what I'm saying right now, because you're probably skipping through and going right from kind of seeing where we are at the start and kind of see where it is in the end. And if they like the changes they see, or if you guys see, you can go and then kind of try to highlight and try to find where that segment that I did, whatever it is that found interesting, actually happened. But yeah, no, I think as I go on and get more videos going, that could be a better reference, I think, material for anything. The idea isn't necessarily to watch this entire process from start to finish, every single minute of every single video, but they can be used as references. So down the road, if you want to say, oh, I'm making my own model, I want to see how to do hands, you can find the video marked hands, and you can go from that. I want to see how to do feet. You can find a video marked feet. There'll be several of them marked either boots or feet, trust me. And you can kind of go from that. So I think once I get a backlog going on these, it's going to make this a stronger going for this. I'm not, like I said, the anticipation isn't everyone watches everything 100% right from the start. It's more, this will be a good reference for future stuff if you ever have a project of your own you want to do and you want, let's just say, a different kind of idea on how something may be done. I do things one way, other people are going to do things like the same element differently. I know hands, I have my own system of doing, other people have different systems of doing that. We're all going to have our own thing. But that's where I think this channel is, I think, going to be more helpful in that regard, is more as a reference than strictly you must watch everything all the way through in order to understand what's happening. So it'll be good to get a couple of these models up and in. And that said, as I said before at the very first episode, I do have the entire Night Witch project I did before this one 100% finished, recorded, saved, and all that ready to go. But I also don't want to put it yet in case you do want to be watching a system going through. Some of you will be actually interested in going through and seeing the entire process. Maybe I'm just a background noise for you, because I know I do that all the time when I'm like reading the news or whatnot online when I get home from work, or if I'm kind of browsing, doing other stuff. When I'm doing my computer things, I will generally always have a background stream going. I usually watch Twitch and I'll have somebody on in the background just as like background noise. So if I can be background noise for you, that's fine too. That's kind of what I'm expecting this is mostly going to turn into for anyone watching. So I think we're going to be useful as reference points for individual sessions or sections that are done for individual elements, whether it be hands, whether it be hair, whether it be feet, whether it be a face, whether it's probably not going to be abs. I think I still have a long way to go on that. I need to find references that don't all contradict each other. I think that's the problem. I had too many references I was looking at that were all kind of slightly contradicting each other, and I kind of made an amalgamation of all of it rather than just setting my sights on one, and it just confused everything. But yeah, we'll do that. I'm also thinking I do have a number of kind of biking and running videos I'd taken in the past, several years ago, that, yes, they're done on a very old GoPro, but I could just start, in terms of not just having this, but I don't know why I'm changing topic, but going to showing other stuff and just getting a backlog of things going. I might go and start, I could just put a couple of those together and put them up online as well. We'll see. Just so I can at least get a backlog of I'm not just a model person. I do have other things I do kind of feel to it. I should probably have you a little bit wider. Okay, I do have a straight edge I use to cut off of to cut straight lines, but apparently it is not on me at the moment, so we're doing this 100% by feel. Not that it really matters for this one, but what I want is you to come down. Probably easier if I go that way. We want you to come down the middle and do this. So I go there, I come up here, and I pull that off. I have you down there, cut the bottom, pull that off. And this is why I didn't need to do the whole thing at once, because I have this in my back pocket. I can now just take that, and I can now blend this guy. All right, let's get some of this loose stuff out of here. Because once again, these things stick to everything, and that's bad. Okay, so we want to blend. So this reads as one piece that came through. Finger is still the best way to blend things whenever possible. It just, nothing beats that tried and true metric right there. Okay, I see you're kind of, I see what you're doing. I want you off. Yeah, this is also why I feel good finally getting to shoes and getting to boots or whatever and doing the feet, because this is where we actually really feel like I'm start detailing stuff out and making the progress. At the same time, I'm looking at the clock. Shoes always take longer than they should. I feel like they are more effort than what the final product is ever going to show. Because maybe I'm not a foot person. I don't stare at the feet. You can have like you can walk into a room with like your $600 pair of shoes, whatever. You really want to show off. You want to highlight things. I will never notice it. That's not what I look at when I see things. So in my mind, yes, I'm super happy getting at this phase, kind of doing this part. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, this isn't one of the sections I'm going to be looking at in the end. So I tend to have kind of mixed feelings by the time I get to this phase. But at the same time, I'm not doing the muscle stuff badly like I was before, so that does make me feel a lot better. So that alone makes this feel like good progress. All right, we're in, we're blended. We now need to bring this right down the middle. And that's going to have this read as two separate pieces. Okay, so I'm just kind of adding a little bit of a side pressure on it, just to give it the channel in the middle just a little bit more of a chance at reading as its own separate thing. And then we have more smoothing out, because everything we do is always followed by smoothing out. It is the way this works. Always be smoothing. And this is a combination of smoothing and making sure everything reads as straight, because this wants to feel straight. But again, I might go ahead and do some of that off camera, because I can do that better when it's closer to my face than I can do it over here. But okay, so now we do have this boot kind of going. It's looking like something. I do have the insignias to put on there. I might detail that out at a later time. Let's again not lose them. They might still be useful. Put you in there. And once again, we have, I didn't realize I was still using you. Sorry about that. That's what we're going off of. Now actually, this probably shouldn't be as different. I probably should have a little more of a connection to it. Yes, I'm just wrapping this in just a little bit on the inside. Just kind of take that hard edge off. I want to keep the hard edge on the outside for sure, but the inside, it doesn't need to be that stark. We can have a little bit of a blend going. And we get the points like this, where I realize trying to put things on camera while simultaneously being able to see what I'm doing myself doesn't always 100% resolve itself well. So sometimes if that happens, I apologize, because the camera is close to where my face is, my eyes are, but it's about maybe 4, 5, 6 inches lower than my own vision. It's kind of lined up just below my mouth. So I do see things slightly differently than you do, and it does play itself out a little bit every now and again during some of these kind of detail phases. When in order for me to see something, it means like the arm is blocking the view, the leg is blocking the view, the other arm is blocking it, the other leg is blocking it. Sometimes stuff like that just happens. Okay, well, I can finish kind of smoothing some of that stuff out off camera. Let's see, what do we have? We have just a couple minutes to go. So I'm not really going to have time to get the knee. So I think, given our time, I'm probably going to be calling it pretty soon. Let me see. Can I get the back here? Maybe I can do the back detail real quick. For this, let's go just a hair lower on that. Send you through. So this is going to be done at a 6. So it doesn't need to be super thick, but I don't want it to be super thin either. I want it to be actually visible. And what are we doing? Let me give myself... About how big am I going? This isn't a very big thing. And what do we have? We have it's kind of like the shoe, the symbol on the bottom. Let's go and grab a pointer piece this time to kind of draw out. And we have a zig, a zag, a zig, zag. Let's see, bottom zag doesn't go nearly that far. Jeez. Oh, that foot just never wants to let go. And looking at my reference thing, that's actually much larger than it needs to be. So let's see if we can shrink this down a little bit. Now again, I am kind of rushing this a little bit because it's the end of a session and I kind of want to get it in without having this go super far beyond what I want. But at the same time, there's a decent chunk of playtime I can give myself on this. I can kind of fix things as I go. But that's not so bad. We have a little bit of a detail on here. And let's see if we can do a couple little touches. So that's going to come out further. So it comes out and then it comes right back. We're going to round off the edges a little bit. And if it's anything like the bottom ones, rather than being kind of up and in, it kind of does a little it's more of a chamfered look than just a straight 90 degree kind of thing. Which actually, rather than doing that, it's probably better to cut off the edge. We're probably going to go just a couple minutes over on this one. But if I do want to kind of fix this up on my own after, just kind of do the couple little tweaks off camera, I would like to do at least the big stuff here kind of more on camera, just so you can kind of get the idea of what's actually going on before I kind of do little kind of finish things. Now this may not look like anything until the painting phase, and that happens, so keep that in mind. Okay, so now we have that. We do definitely have you going in. All right, I think this is too thick, so actually I can tell this definitely feels too thick. But at least the image we're going for is there. I just need to take the top edge off. Do a little bit of that to thin it out. And then re-chamfer the edges again, because now that I've taken the chamfer off of that. But at the end, it's going to wind up being a nice kind of subtle effect on the back here. And when we come next time we're back, let me just pop you back in here, because we are ending this episode at this point. So next time we're going to get the knee thing, the knee guard going on this, and we'll see if we can get the medallions on both sides of here in there. And like I said, the front claw portion needs to be fixed, but I want to do that, I think, after the other one is done. And basically right before I harden, I'll probably fix this little section so it feels a little better. But that'll be then. For right now, this is Chris with the latest part of the Bang project. So let me take you guys off so we have a nice little parting screen. But until next time, enjoy.